Welcome to Growing Belleville Through Community Chats, a podcast presented by the Greater Belleville Chamber of Commerce to help highlight, promote, and enlighten people, businesses, and community events in the Greater Belleville area. Here are your hosts, Stephen Sedlak and Eric Huber.
Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Growing Belleville Through Community Chats presented by the Greater Belleville Chamber of Commerce. I am your co-host, Stephen Sedlak, along with Eric Huber. Good morning, Eric. How are you?
Doing well, Stephen. We got the hot weather is finally going away, and we're starting to see some fall weather coming up, so I'm excited.
It is fall. It's a good time of the year. Well, we want to jump right into it today because we have a great guest with us. We have Chris Eckert, of course, from Eckert's, which anybody in the metro area knows of Eckert. So good morning, Chris, or good afternoon, Chris. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm, as I like to say, I'm just Peachy.
That fits well. Well, why don't you, I'm sure a lot of people know a lot about you or who you are, but why don't you kind of give a little quick background of yourself for some of the viewers or listeners that don't?
Sure. Well, I'm, a seventh-generation family member I'm the seventh generation of my family to work here at Eckert's, and lifelong resident of the Belleville area. Grew up in Millstadt and currently live on our farm here in Belleville. So went to Belleville West High School and University of Illinois, studied agriculture, and came back a few years after I graduated to work in the family business.
Now, I'm assuming you probably grew up working in the family business.
I did. Yeah. I grew up on our farm in Millstadt, and, I just always loved the farm. So I was always escaping the house to go jump on a piece of equipment or play pick your own or whatever was going on. But at a very young age, late grade school, like 7th or 8th grade, my parents had us, myself and my sisters started a funnel cake business. We sold funnel cakes on the farm on weekends. And, they kind of set it up so we had to manage it ourselves and pay the bills and hire our friends to help us and count down the drawer at the end of the day. And then that profit was what was our college fund. So we paid for our college with funnel cakes.
Oh, that's a great story. It is fall, like we said. It is good. So is this your guys' busy season? Is this the busiest part of the year for you guys with everything that's going on?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, fall. These weekends that we're having right now are critical to our success. Everyone kind of associates, the break in the cool weather and with going out to the farm and doing a hayride or, doing the fall harvest. So it's just a natural time of the year to grab the kids and go to an apple farm or a pumpkin patch and enjoy a day.
Well, I'll tell you, we were actually out at the Millstadt one on Saturday, and for one, it was hot. And I don't think a lot of people were expecting it to be hot because they were all dressed in their fall gear and trying to be festive. But I tell you, it was jam-packed. And I think I know last year was kind of an escape, but it was kind of the unknown. But I think this year people are really enjoying getting back to some of the normalcy of fall activities.
Yeah, we were fortunate in 2020 that COVID really did not negatively impact our fall season. It did have some negative impact on other parts of our season, like our spring, we had to shut down our strawberry patch. And then, our restaurant business obviously was impacted negatively by it. But the fall season was actually really good last year. The weather was really good last fall. And we had some really great business. This year has been a little up and down because we've had some rainy weekends, and that, of course, has a big negative effect on people coming out to the farm to go pick apples or pumpkins. But last weekend was really, really great. So actually, last week was a record week for our business.
I think that's a good point of what you're saying there. I think, you guys last year didn't take a big hit per se, like maybe some other businesses did. But it was a reprieve for people to get out and still experience something normal, something that they were used to. And I think people enjoyed it. Now, did they go out like they usually do, like this year you said? Probably not, but there was some sort of normalcy, I guess, associated with what you guys offered over the last year.
I think very much so. And I also think it was a year where there was a lot less competition for time. Just schools were doing remote learning. All the sports teams had canceled their seasons for the fall. So if you just think about, no fall sports, that opens up a lot of calendars for people to do other things. And we were one of the things that people, could fortunately still do. So it was exciting that we could operate in spite of the pandemic. But we had restrictions. We had to limit the number of people that could be on the farm at any one time, and do some other things. So it was like, I don't want to do that again. No. But I'm fortunate that we were able to make it through it, in good order. Anyway.
On that note, do you see a positive or anything that with last year, with everything that happened, that was a positive for your business going into the future?
I think just our ability to adapt gave us some confidence as a business. Just how important it is to be open-minded and think about things from a different angle instead of throwing your hands up and feeling like you're a victim of what's going on. It was really important for us to maintain a successful year. And I think just being in agriculture teaches us that. We have so many variables out of our control as a farm. We're dealing with Mother Nature. We can't control how much rain we do or don't get, and if we get a frost or we don't get a frost. So I think, just that farm experience has helped us learn to be adaptive and responsive to opportunities that present themselves.
I guess you guys can't really, you kind of, in what you guys do, like you said, with the weather and everything, you can't really be over critical. I guess you guys are always on your toes, I guess, because you're always, the weather's the unknown aspect, so you never know. So I guess when a curveball like that comes, you guys might be a little more prepared than, maybe some other people.
Prepared might be too generous for what we experienced last year. I don't think anybody was prepared for that, but I think just open to thinking about things from a different perspective and being, responsive and reactive. I think it does help us in that regard. But I wasn't thinking that we had a pandemic coming at the beginning of 2020, or I guess it's 2019.
No, it's 2020. It's all running together now.
Yeah.
Chris, I'm going to touch back on what you said with, the family, getting you guys really involved at a young age with the funnel cake business, you said, and going to U of I. I mean, being a seventh generation, as you said, was that really pushed on you guys, or was it kind of your decision and you just were around it so much and enjoyed it? What was that like with the rest of your family?
Yeah, that's a great question. In our family, it's pretty emphatic that coming back to work in the business is not pushed on anyone. There's no feeling of expectation that, hey, you got to come back and take this over so it keeps going on. In fact, it's a rule that if you have an interest as a family member to work, as a profession in the business, you have to get a college degree and then work for at least 2 years outside of the business in a different capacity. And that was in fact what I did. I spent a couple of years working for different organizations, just preparing myself to come back into the business. And then, the decision to come back is got to be predicated on there being an opening or a need to hire somebody back into the business. So, the opportunity presented itself after I'd been working outside of the business for a little over 2 years, and then I wanted to. And I would say that was a great 2 years for me. I think that experience was critical in helping me develop professionally, and also, once you get back here, it's hard to get out. You don't leave once you're here. So it's a really important opportunity to gain some new experiences to bring back into the family business and share, with the rest of the family and the leadership team.
Was that your plan all along to always come back, do the couple years out, and then always come? Because we had the same rule, in our business that we own, but I had no desire to ever come back, and now here I am 10 years later, still here when I did come back. But was that your plan from the beginning?
I always wanted to come back into the family business. So yeah, I would say from a young age, I was chomping at the bit to be on the farm. So I don't think anyone was surprised. And I had kind of spent my career preparing for it. So I got a degree in agricultural economics. I spent internships in California in the peach industry, and my professional jobs after college were working for grocery store chains as an apple buyer, and worked in processing fruits and vegetables in that industry. So I had a lot of relevant experience that I could come back and contribute right away. So yeah, I was kind of brainwashed early on by myself. I just had an integral passion for it.
What about your kids?
I don't think they have quite the passion I had growing up, but that doesn't mean that they won't end up coming back into the business. But farm life has got a lot of competition from game time, video games. So I think my son is really interested in video gaming and golf, and my daughter she's hard to see. She's going to be going to college next year, so we'll see what she studies. But she's not expressed an interest at this point in time.
So they've grown up on the farm as well too, similar to you, I assume, right? So they've been out and exposed to it, and of course they've been exposed to it, but out doing kind of the same things you did when you were younger, right?
They have been, yeah. So we live right here on the Belleville farm, and they work in the business. Especially this time of the year, we don't make them fry funnel cakes, but they are spending their weekends working the ticket booth and the checkouts, and wherever they're needed, and they do a really good job. I am kidding a little bit about what their interests, but they are really getting some good experience, I think, and they're really helpful when they're there. So I'm proud of them.
Well, I kind of want to touch base, go back to what you're talking about how you guys live on the Belleville farm. And just me, I like to get away from work when I can, but you live there, you're there. I mean, is there a point where it's hard to detach yourself from everything since you are living on the Belleville farm?
Yeah, it's fortunately we're a bit of a lifestyle business, so it's not. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining, because it's a pretty good problem to have, but it is hard to get away. It's when the burglar alarm goes off at 2:00 in the morning. I'm the person that's got to go down and meet the police, and if there's a power outage, I got to go check on that. And if you're trying to take a day off, you're sitting in your house and watching everybody drive by and do their work outside of your house. So that does wear on us at times, because it's hard to unplug. Right. And there's a lot of people I know. I have friends who live in the city, and their goal is to buy some hunting property out in the country and get in a deer stand on the weekends. And I really want to go to the city and sit in a hotel room and be surrounded by people. So I don't know that going and walking around in the woods makes me feel like I'm unplugged from the orchard. So, but I'm kidding a little bit, but it is a bit of a challenge to get away from it. But it's a blessing to be able to be absorbed in it as well. So,
I think you guys have done an incredible job drawing, just in regards to the city aspect, thinking of St. Louis, drawing people from across the river, such a huge draw. And I know you guys every year do your summer market. This year you guys had it in Rock Hill there. But how much of an integral part have you guys focused on kind of, I guess, advertising towards or drawing people from? Because it's hard for people on the Missouri side to venture over to Illinois. It just is for some reason. But you guys seem to have done a great job at that.
Well, thank you. And it is a major focus of our thinking and, it's kind of our strategic planning. The census data is not real great for us. It's like the Metro East is not a growing population base. And our target demographic, which is, kind of upper middle income, young families, that group is moving further west from downtown St. Louis. So we see the challenge of getting people to come to Eckert's over the long run as being a bigger challenge, because we got to get people to drive further, and we're very dependent upon Missouri residents to come out to the farm and spend a day in the country, and they got a lot of things to spend their time on, and so that's a big ask to get a young family to spend a day coming over to Belleville and spend a day on the farm. So I think in order to do that, we've just committed ourselves to reinvesting as much capital as we possibly can into this farm, and providing new attractions, better facilities, more farm development. So we're growing more crops than we ever have here in Belleville. We're a bigger farm than we've ever been right now. So we've not given up on agriculture, but we've also reinvested in our retail facilities, our restaurant facilities. We are expanding into hard cider, and our plans are to open up a hard cider tasting room and beer garden next summer. We continue to add events, like are trying to expand on our concert series and different live events in this new beer garden space that we're trying to introduce next year. So I think, what we have to do is just stay focused on creating a bigger reason for people to come to Eckert's and remain relevant to young families and young couples to be interested in spending a day on the farm here in Illinois.
Where are you guys looking to do the beer garden at, Belleville or Millstadt?
The project I'm talking about is at our Belleville location, and it would be connecting kind of our store and our restaurant together. It would essentially be adding a second restaurant to the Belleville campus, and then we introduced 4 lines of hard cider this year, and then we're going to be introducing more next year. And then the beer garden would be able to accommodate about 300 people under a pavilion with a stage, an outdoor bar, and live entertainment outside. And then moving our custard shop and adding a cider donut stand adjoining our store. So it's a pretty big movement of current activities and addition of new activities on our Belleville.
I think that'll be incredible. I think it'll be awesome. Now, you guys this year opened the bar out at Millstadt, correct? Was that the first year that you guys had that?
We had done some kind of temporary, kind of tent with a kegerator kind of options for a couple of years. But this year we made a bigger commitment to, adding a permanent facility and more options, draft options for our guests out there. And that's gone over very well. And I think we'll continue to build upon that. The challenge of Millstadt is it's a seasonal operation. It's only open for 8 weeks. So, we want to, the offering would not be as substantial there as what we're talking about at Belleville, ultimately, since that's a year-round opportunity.
Well, yeah, I know the bar at the Millstadt, it was packed on Saturday, and a lot of people were trying the hard cider, because you were drawing a crowd from St. Louis. So I think it was a great idea there.
Yeah, Chris, I think you mentioned it, and it's been unbelievable to see Eckert's. I mean, I'm Belleville born and been going there since I was little. So, the growth you guys have had there at the Belleville campus has been awesome. The concerts, the restaurant, all the upgrades, like you said, additional property. I mean, you go everywhere there. It's Eckert's, which is awesome. I told my wife I was going to say, if for our listeners, viewers, if you haven't been to the grocery store, the meat market, we discovered your guys' peach butter burgers like 2-3 years ago, and I can tell you 100% we have not cooked a different burger on our grill since finding those peach butter burgers. So for all those out there, if you guys have not gone into the meat market and buy your peach butter burgers, I highly recommend.
And well, thank you. Yeah, we're pretty spoiled to work in a store that we can just swing by and pick up something from the meat case every night. But it's been a kind of an area of pride and an opportunity for growth for us that with the meat department, especially through COVID, that department grew more than any other department last year because, people weren't dining out. So they were needing to buy things to grill and cook at home. And that really opened a lot of new customers up to Eckert's as a resource for steaks and pork chops and pork steaks. We make all of our sausage in-house with our own recipes. And we try to source as much of our proteins locally as possible. We have relationships with the farmers that raise our cattle, and we try to influence how they're raised so that they're raised in the most humane way possible and fed certain diets that we think help the quality of the meat improve. And it's just been a really maybe self-gratifying because I get to enjoy the fruit of that labor, but it's I think let us stand out in that field a little bit. And if not had a chance to try our meat shop, I would encourage everyone to give it a shot because I'm very proud of it, and I think we do as good or better job than anybody around.
Peach burgers. I guess that's why life's so peachy, right?
They're unbelievable, Steven. You got.
I will. I know. I now I feel like I need to go swing by on my way home today and get some. It's a great day to grill here. So, what do you guys kind of have? Before we kind of wrap this up here, we already mentioned the beer garden, but strategically or moving forward, what are your guys' looking to add otherwise or kind of grow? I guess.
In our business, we're constantly regenerating ourselves because orchards have a life, and so we're constantly planting new orchards every year. So you're going to see more of that at our Belleville farm. There's going to be some new apple orchards go in next spring, and those are expensive investments. An apple orchard costs about $20,000 an acre to establish. So that's a real commitment to staying and growing fruit in this area. I think after that, we're also expanding into other markets in addition to here in the Metro East. So in 2017, we bought a location in Lexington, Kentucky, or just outside of Lexington, Kentucky, and that's done well for us. It's a way for us to expand geographically and maybe spread our risk in terms of rain and weather events over a broader area. And so that was a test for us a little bit to see if we could open a location 300 miles away and manage it effectively and profitably, and what it all took to do that. And it's really doing well now. And so that's given us some confidence to think about some other markets. So, we're actively looking for opportunities in Nashville, Kansas City, Indianapolis, Chicago. I think anywhere within 300 to 350 miles of Belleville. And I think that's good for our location here at the same time because it allows us to gain economies of scale, hire more administrative staff here locally, build more distribution infrastructure here because all of those other locations are serviced out of Belleville. So we're picking peaches here and shipping it to Kentucky, and picking tomatoes here and shipping them to Kentucky, and all of that is handled right through our warehouse here in Belleville. So we think there's lots of opportunity to grow here locally and in a more regional fashion as well. But Belleville is always home for us. So we've been on this farm where we are today since 1877, and we're very proud of that. It's one of those things that when we talk about our competitive advantages, those are the things that the things that we can do that nobody else can do. Anybody can open up a pumpkin farm next to us, but they can't say that they've been there since 1877. So, we want to remain relevant and thriving here in Belleville and the Metro East in general, and then use that as a launch pad to even venture out into other markets regionally.
Well, you guys should be proud. You guys are a huge asset to the Belleville community for sure, and what you guys have done and continue to do is just awesome. And again, just not just Belleville, but the surrounding area of bringing people in and just, again, being a huge asset. It's commendable for what you guys have done and continue to do.
Well, thank you so much. We're really, proud to be a part of the neighborhood. And, we're hoping that we're here for another 7 generations. We just had the first member of the Generation 8 come back and start working in the business. My niece, she started this spring. So, we're keeping things going, and hopefully, we just are able to be smart enough to evolve with the times and remain relevant and exciting for customers for many generations to come.
It's awesome.
Yes. Well, again, we want to be respectable of your time, so we're coming up on about 30 minutes here. Is there anything else you want to let anybody know about before we wrap it up here?
I think it's just make sure you dine with your kids at home. It's good to have dinner at home, and a good way to do that is to support your local food suppliers.
Get some peach butter hamburgers too. Right?
Peach butter burgers, man.
The kids will love it.
I agree. There's something about family time when it comes to dinner time at home. So, well, again, Chris, we appreciate your time, and again, everybody, welcome to another podcast of Building Belleville through Community Chats. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
See you, Chris.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Growing Belleville Through Community Chats podcast. Please remember to follow and subscribe to this podcast and share with your friends and community leaders. For additional information from this podcast, please reach out to the Greater Belleville Chamber of Commerce.